It's easy to get stuck in the weeds of the business and just work and grind, designing my life and designing what I want to. I don't want to do $1 million a month. Like you talk about, I don't want to do even probably like $750 a month. I'd rather build a team as profitable as can be, as tight niche as can be, that can run effectively without me being there.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. Today we have boy wonder, Gino Palomba with Easy Sell ATL. And Gino flew in from Kennesaw, Georgia to talk about how he built a $1 million business traveling 7 months a year. So I don't know which part is more impressive, the $1 million business or traveling 7 months a year, but we're going to get into all of that. Guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on the show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you will become one. And the show is brought to you by our sister company, InvestorLift. Get access to millions of cash buyers across the country. Go to investorlift.com, put in Disruptors to get 10% off. And guys, if you get value out of the show, please hit that subscribe button. That way we can all grow together. You ready?
Let's do it, baby.
All right. So it was just a few years ago that you were here and you were in that other studio.
Yep.
Right. We were talking about your journey. So what have been some of the biggest changes that you've got to experience in the last 2-3 years since you've been on the show?
I would say a lot more failure. That's a big change because, like I came, I think, on in like 2022, just before everything started getting hard. So I started this business back at end of 2018 and, throughout 2019, just was able to reap the benefits of, starting out, but still being able to, sell deals pretty easily, find deals somewhat easily. I wouldn't say it's always easy, but find deals. And then 2020 came. Miracle year, we tripled the business and revenue and even profits, and we're like this. We know what we're doing. 2021, same thing. I started becoming even more like just educated on the business, growing a team really that year. And so again, all point being is by the time I get on your podcast, and I think again around 2022, I believe, when that June hit, after I think I came in April, and that June hit and things started changing. I would say, back to your original question, a lot of things got harder and changed. Learning how to, again, figure out how to look at a cash flow statement, how to read a P&L, how to know that, hey, look, your deals aren't going to sell in 7 days or less or go under contract or 7 days or less, and that now it's time to start becoming a true business owner.
Now you actually have to work for it.
Exactly. Now you actually got to be a business owner, not just get lucky, right?
Yeah. So before you could just get contracts and sell them.
Yeah.
Right? You can slang them. It was
Very
not really that hard.
Yep.
The biggest obstacle I hear from newer wholesalers is finding buyers for their deals. Because unless you've built a massive buyers list or have a huge dispo team, you might struggle to move your deals. So when we started working with InvestorLift, we've been able to reach new buyers and sell deals faster at higher prices. We can see buyers in our area, their contact information, and with the new AI capabilities, connect with the buyers most interested in our deals based on the algorithms. We can also see who's clicked on our deals, how many pictures they clicked on, and how long they spent looking at it, and finally, what actions they took after engaging with our deals. We are now connected with thousands of buyers in our markets, and we now know exactly where we are with each deal and what next steps to take. If this sounds like something that would resolve or help your dispo process, I highly encourage you, go to the website, put in Disruptors for 10% off so you can focus on locking up deals and less time worried, stressed, and frustrated about finding buyers. So then let's talk about the changes and processes then. So step one, what was the first major change then with the shift in market?
Yeah, so the big major change, shift in marketing, I think was putting more emphasis on dispo. I think before what we did is, like a lot of people did, is like lock the deal up and we'll sell this thing, no problem. Or lock the deal up and just post it to our buyers list. And even at that time though, we did start selling properties on MLS, wholesale. Like we didn't buy them, we would list them on there with equitable interest.
Right.
So even though we did that, we still had to put more emphasis on our dispo department. It wasn't just a list on the property now and it'll sell. It's like now we got to start talking to agents around the deal and try to pre-sell the property or whatever it might be.
So talk to me about that. So you've got a deal and you're listing on MLS.
Yeah.
Now I took for granted that that's like common practice. It's a function of living in a bubble.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So you and I are in Collective Genius.
Yep.
We get to surround ourselves, Eric Brewer, Ryan Bartlett, Phil Green, like the biggest operators in the country. So again, we take for granted. You just list property on MLS.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea to do that unless I joined Collective Genius.
Right. But that's not common practice.
Yeah.
So how are you marketing properties on the MLS?
Yeah, so right now what we currently do is in Georgia, North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham area, and Dallas, Texas. That's majority of those are our markets. Actually more 40-40 and 40% Dallas, 40% Raleigh-Durham, 20% about right now marketing spend and revenue in those. In Atlanta is 20%. So how we're doing in those markets right now is, the conversation with the seller, we can go in detail that, but how we're legally doing it is we get into an agreement with the seller that states multiple times that we're listing the property on multiple listing service, and also attached to it is a POA. On the POA, it just appoints me, actually, as the owner, the ability to sign a listing agreement on the seller's behalf. Now, let's make note here that this is obviously a little more advanced strategy. Talk with your attorneys. But what's also willing is that POA, what's also helping us in this case, we have really good relationships with brokers. Nico, he's a broker that helps us in all those states. And why am I bringing that up? Well, because technically we don't have a POA, right? Because it's not notarized. It's not filed. It's not notarized. But what it does is that extra document there secures or makes the broker more comfortable with our process and take on that responsibility or risk of allowing us to list it on the seller's behalf, right? Because they have something to show, like, all right, the seller knows what's going on. We have it on 3 times on our agreement. We gave them the whole spiel of why we're doing this, made it clear as can be. Again, that was a problem we didn't do up front. Maybe when we first started this, is not being completely, transparent. And what I mean that is we still had everything in an agreement, but I've learned if you say it one time to a seller, it's not enough. You got to say it like 3 or 4 times, and even that sometimes, meaning like you're going to list it on the market, even that sometimes is not enough. But again, now we've gone into it where we have it 3 times on our agreement that we're going to do this. We have told them multiple times. And again, that allows us, with the help of our good relationships with the brokers, allows us to put this on the multiple listing service.
Yeah, and we're going nationwide as well, so that's something that we started in the middle of last year. And now we're with Bateman Collective.
Nice.
We're going hard in multiple states. And so doing novations in other markets, we had to find other realtors to work with.
Yep.
And when Devin on my team, Devin Cooper, our dispo guy, is like, well, I can't find any agents that are competent. I was like, well, why are you talking to agents? Just hire Nico.
Exactly.
He has a brokerage. Just run everything through Nico, and you're still the dispo guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what you guys are doing.
That's what we're doing. And it took Nico a little bit longer to get in certain states that we're in. Like Texas took longer. In that time, then we just used flat fee listing service, which is what I like about Nico is I want to call him up right away. We share season tickets to the Hogs. We were talking about it earlier. Like I can tell him fix this on the listing or have his guys. And but it's still like in the meantime we use those providers. And then now like we have Nico. Yeah, you're just a dispo. I mean, you're just a dispo agent.
Yeah. Is it top line?
It is top brokerage. Yeah.
Just top brokerage. So shout out to Nico with top brokerage.
Top brokerage.
So let's take a step back. So we talked about the technical.
Yeah.
So let's talk through the conversation with the homeowner, right? Because like something we see all the time. We did the Brewer method with Eric Brewer. We launched installment method. These guys, Devin Robinson, Matt Crawford, these guys in South Carolina, North Carolina, like they have this whole other different way of buying homes and listing on MLS. And the objections we get, whether it's novations or installment, is why would anyone go with you versus listing with a realtor?
Yeah. So
how do you overcome?
I love it. Yeah, no, that's what, again, like you said, it's what everyone comes to us with. And I think I talked to Wholesale Hotline on this too. Like same question, right? Why haven't you listed with the realtor? That's our first question. Like, why don't you just list it with the realtor? And by this point in our process, we don't talk about price first. We talk about motivation. So usually by this time, we would already have an idea of why do they want to sell. And it's usually because, they want a quicker closing, right? Well, agents, they usually lock you into a 6-month listing agreement. And of course they do want to, get you the most for the property, but they're just like us, we're trying to give you the most money. That's why we're able to give you this price. So we're similar with the agents in that respect, Mr. Seller, but also agents don't really have a responsibility, or they don't really care how fast they get paid as much as, us, we're having a 60-day agreement with you. So we have to do this quick, and we want to, we are getting this process started for you, and we're going to close in 60 days versus a listing agreement 6 months, right? Because that might hit on the motivation of they want to sell this quick. So that's why I reference motivation, figuring out. Another big thing that we tell the sellers is that, look, we're not going to do traditional open houses. We're not going to make you do all this paperwork, simple things like that. The open houses, we're going to have people coming in here that are either going to partner with us on the deal, or people that are going to be the ones purchasing it from us, and they're going to be pre-qualified. We're going to pre-qualify these people so that you don't have to worry about people backing out and closing in 6 months from now because you can't find the right buyer. We're going to do that for you. And so we're going to take over all that legwork, schedulings, and all that stuff. So just again, it's really important. It's hard to, role play right here like we're doing, because it's really what is their pain and how are we going to solve it? Sometimes, again, it's pushing away, doing the good old Steve Trang method. It'll say their training in there, but just saying, look, we might not be a fit, man. Maybe you should just list it on the market. Why don't you? And, usually they'll come back crawling to you. You know that best.
Yeah, and I do have that great, good fortune. We worked together for years now, and for me, it's an absolute pleasure. I get to work with your sales team, right?
Oh yeah, I'm blessed for that.
And I don't know. Sometimes I kind of pit them against each other because I'm training your lead guys, your dispo guys, and your acquisition guys, right? And I was like, well, why do you guys do it that way? We got to talk about the process. So by the way, I do need to have a conversation with you about this later on.
Let's do it.
All right. I told them I promise I'll talk to Gino about this. All right. So another thing too is I think a lot of people underestimate because they think like you, they think like me. Listen on MLS, who cares? Like, what's the big deal, right? Like, I remember the very first time I bought a house, and I was thinking like they would have netted more if they let me list it, but they wanted a cash offer for me, right?
Exactly.
So $15K. And I was thinking like, if Gino paid me $15,000 with just, I want to be able to walk into your house at any random hour, reasonable hours with 2 hours notice for the next 6 months. But that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
15 more thousand.
For $15K? Sure, whatever. I don't care. I've got nothing to hide. But most people, the general population, there's a lot of anxiety listing home with a realtor, having a bunch of people walking through your home. And people underestimate that because they're thinking like you and me.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, there's a challenge? We can solve it. Is it if closing is delayed, if there's a problem with the appraisal, whatever.
Exactly.
Like, we
repairs need to be
love solving problems.
Exactly. That's how we get paid.
That's how we get paid.
Yeah.
But the average homeowner, that maybe not the average, but for a percentage of the population, that brings in a lot of anxiety. If you guys don't believe us, like why are there so many iBuyers?
Yeah, exactly.
They're bringing that convenience. We're offering the same thing. It's just we do it a little bit differently.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about the what, or we talked about how, the conversation. And you mentioned it's a novation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't consider it novation. We just market it on the MLS, right? Novation, obviously, everyone's got different terms. So we usually, how we sell them in Georgia, because and a lot of the other markets, the markets we're in, they're so cheap to double close. Just not to introduce all that novation paperwork. We just go under contract with the buyer and double close, and even if it's conventional, work out something. So, but same concept, right? We market on the MLS. All our deals are on the MLS.
So you market on MLS, so you can double close. So all you're really doing then is just the ability to market it. Yeah. That's all you're getting.
That's it. Just marketing it.
Okay. So then the other wrinkle here, and this is something that's come up recently in conversations I've had, is why have your dispo guy do it with a flat fee agent versus paying a realtor the full commission to represent both sides?
Well, I mean, first off, I save 3%, right? So if you're if I hire an agent on our team to do it, and not that you have to pay them 3%, but traditional is 3% for a seller's agent, right?
Right.
So, right there, I pay our guys commission based on our profits. It's not 3% of the deal. I'll tell you that, the gross, the sales price. Right. So it's obviously a convenience there, saving money. That's the biggest thing. The second thing is like, we have a broker that we're good friends with, like I mentioned already. And I feel like we pretty much have, someone like hands-on with us that's able to make the changes we need, as if like a listing agent would as well. Like, because that's the convenience, is that they're a listing agent. They should know what they're doing, hopefully, and do it pretty quickly. And that's what I feel we have with Nico as the broker. But with also the convenience of not having to pay the 3%. If we're putting all of our deals on there, per year, I mean, it counts up a lot more. So that's the biggest reason why. I've talked to some people about it, though. If you have an agent that you're really close with that will do it for a low commission or flat fee, like when you're first starting out, maybe that's how you want to do it, just so you can get a little bit of a, you don't have to worry about those ins and outs of things, of contracts and things like that. You get that pushed away. But I mean, that's why I currently just use a dispo rep. Yeah.
And then the arguments I've heard, right? And again, the part about the price makes total sense, right? Because 3% is going to add up real fast. The other thing too is the dispo guy on my team, I can call him up at 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with this?
Exactly.
Not that I'm looking forward to having these conversations, but if I call him at 8:00 at night, they'll answer the phone.
Exactly.
With a listing agent or with a realtor, I might call them at 3:00 in the middle of the day, working hours. And I might not hear back until the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just the cost I think probably not even just the money, the
Energy and
mental
time too.
willpower and diminishing and the frustration and all that.
Yeah,
You can't make up for that.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of mentioning. I said it with Nico being the broker. That's an advantage, but also, like, again, you were asking about dispo agents being listing actual agents or a dispo person. Like you said, like you're not going to be able to speed to the conversation. It's just completely out the window if you go just to an agent, that has other deals going on.
Right. And like with a listing agent, I think at best, I might get 50% feedback.
Exactly.
At best, I might get 50% of the people that show the property feedback.
Exactly.
Dispo agent, the expectation, you're calling every freaking realtor. You keep calling them until you get feedback.
Exactly.
And you can dictate that.
You can see it too.
And you can see
control it. Yeah. Through the CRM.
So then so let's see if there's any other questions here. So conversation with the homeowner, the technical know how to do it, implementing with Dispo. Is there anything else that's different than any traditional wholesaling?
I would say the big thing there is, like, if we're selling to, I believe it's about 30 to 40% conventional buyers. And so obviously you can't assign deals then, and it's even hard to double close like same day. Most of the time you can't. So when you're doing this, and again, the whole point of this whole strategy is we can offer the seller more money and we can sell the deal for more money. That's the name of the game in business, right? Especially where we're at. Sell the deal for most money and lock up as many contracts. And obviously we talk about this. I'd love to hear your feedback on this, Steve. I talk to people this a lot, even though I'm very big into sales, motivation, hitting pain. I can do the best job of hitting pain. But if I can offer $30,000 more to a seller face to face, now not always. There's always cases where we both know where sellers will say, "Hey, Gino, I could take, I'm taking $20K price tag because I love you guys." But on the majority level, if you can offer more to a seller, and again, I'm talking extremes, $25,000, $30,000, they're gonna probably take your offer over the next person, no matter the situation, right?
Right.
Situation actually might be a little bit in there, but just regarding if you're in the same playing field, like if I give 30 more grand, more than likely I'm doing the deal. So it allows us to do that. It allows us to sell it on the market, like I said, and us to try to sell for as much money and make as much. Yeah. But back to your question, what's different about that is if we are selling to these conventional buyers, what we have to do is talk to their underwriters too. This is a little intricate part of it, right? If you're selling to a conventional buyer, which it's part of the strategy, you're going to have that happen, and you want to because that's how you can sell for the most money. You can't just talk to the agent, buyer's agent, and say, "Hey, is the lender going to be good with a double close?" Right? Because you're trying to pick the best terms for your buyers. So as a lender, when you talk to the agent, the buyer's agent, are they good to do a double close? The buyer's agent's going to say whatever they want to get the deal done, right? And because what if, like, some of these lenders, why I bring this up is some of these lenders will say, "No, you need to hold it for 3 weeks." Well, if I knew their offer was going to make me hold it for 3 weeks to do this deal, right? Because they want to show me on the title, right? Whatever it might be on the deed, the lender, I might not have picked this buyer versus a cash buyer that might have been 5 or 10 grand less. So again, the point being is that you want to figure out with these with these buyers agents, or with these buyers, you want to figure out how quick and how, lenient are they with these double closes or these closing procedures. So again, don't go to the buyer's agent. Don't go to the buyer's lender necessarily, like their loan officer. Go to the underwriter. Try to find a way to get into the underwriter, or tell them we need approval from your underwriter in writing of what they will do in this circumstance of us. And we openly tell them we're wholesaling the deal. We don't own the deal. We give them disclosures now that shows, like, hey, we're not responsible if our deal backs out with the seller. Like, we're not responsible to do your deal with you because it's not our fault. Again, the whole point being is you're being as extra disclosures as possible. And so if you can get down, again, you asked what is one part in the system that you might not know that's different than traditional. So you got to go to the underwriter and see what they would be willing to do on a double close or a closing time period, because that's going to decide whether you pick that buyer that might take a 3 week, like I said, closing, or 3 week, holdback, versus someone that can close same day double close. Or
how are you talking to the underwriter?
Big thing is going to the agents first. The goal is to tell them, like, look, this is standard protocol. We need to get something from your underwriter, or at least get on the phone with them to understand it. Then of course the agent says, well, I mean, we only got you maybe can talk to the loan officer, or you can maybe talk to the bank or the lender, right? And then it's just, again, a constant process of trying to weed through the next person to get in there. And again, it doesn't happen all the time. I don't want to say we're perfect, right? Sometimes we're drastic for an offer, we'll accept it. But the point being is overall, and, I think the big difference there is, like, you actually have to go to, versus a cash deal, obviously, you don't confirm the cash deal, you get proof of funds, that's it. Yeah. Versus now you got to dig deeper and just trying to communicate and tell them, like, this is just normal practice. I think just telling them, like, this is what we normally do. Because sometimes, again, buyer's agents will say, you can't talk to the underwriter. Okay, well, this is what we've done in the past. Get on the phone with the seller. This is how we've done it. We get on the phone, with the actual buyer and us on a two-way call with the underwriter, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it sounds like a lot more work, and reality is it's really is, but you're going to make a lot more money. And if you build a good process and procedure on it, you can have someone on your team that's just designated to talk to these people. So
that's what I was wondering. Who on your team is actually talking to them?
Majority of the time, it's first, if it's easy layups, right? It goes dispo rep, talks to the buyer's agent, talks to the lender, and talks to the underwriter. Hopefully, it goes straight to the underwriter. If it gets a little more intricate, then I think to be honest, should know better on this because I'm not seeing over dispo, but I'm pretty sure that one of our dispo assistants gets on the phone and starts doing that.
Yeah.
That's a VA. So.
Yeah, and that's incredibly powerful. Like, I know one of the things that we pitch in going to the market, hey, the reason why you want to do this, blah, blah, and also we're only going to have qualified buyers walk through the home, right? That's part of the pitch. Exactly. And so with having the qualified buyers come through, you guys are willing afterwards to talk to the underwriter before you get a contract signed. I know plenty of realtors don't even call the loan officer.
Exactly. Yep.
Prior to accepting the offer. So like, we'll find out sometimes where a buyer will get disqualified and we'll ask the loan officer what happens. Like, oh, they never submitted the financials. Like, why did you
go this far? Yeah.
Why did you give them a pre-approval, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you guys are taking it one step further and you're actually talking to the underwriter.
Yeah, that's our goal on it as much as possible is to do that. Unconventional. Like I said, that's 40%. Majority of the time, we are 60% selling to cash or hard money guys or someone that has financing a little bit sooner. But yeah, like you said, it's an important part because we got burnt. We go to the closing table with our seller, and then we have to fund the deal. We're never going to leave the seller out. But it's like 2 days, 3 days. Oh, they can't close for another 3 weeks now because you guys are wholesaling it. Like we've been on a contract for 25 days. Like you guys knew what we were doing. We told you, Mr. Agent. Well, yeah, but I just talked to the lender and they said they need this. Like we've got so many times like that, and obviously you learn after 2 or 3 of them. Like we're not accepting unless we talk to this lender, right? Yeah. Or underwriter, excuse me.
So how many of these are you doing a month?
So on average, what we looked at last year, I believe we were just under 200 contracts. Our goal is to close at 60%. We're trying to work that up. But on contract wise, we list everything. I would say 90%. I know I'm throwing numbers out here, but some of them we do take down on wholesale if they're really good deals. We're not going to risk putting them on the market. But roughly last month we had 21 contracts. But our goal this year is to do on average about 23 to 25. So I think it comes up to about 25 per month contracts, and all those go on the market and then closing at 60%. So I think it's roughly like 13, 14 closed deals a month. And with that being said, almost all those will be this type of strategy. If they're just very good deals, again, about 10%, 15%, we'll take them down. So 1 or 2 a month we'll take down, and we never get into the flipping game. I've learned that it's not something I want to. And I've saying that now, like I'm looking at some of our deals, like we had our first time ever, like on 2 deals we did. They weren't even flips, they were wholesales. Even that, I lost like $3,000 on one I just closed last month. And I'm like, even that now, I'm like, I should stop buying properties, man. I think we just stick to what I know in the wholesaling. But again, any big deals, and the one I did lose money, I thought was a big deal. Of course, that happens to some of us. But any big deals is the ones we're taking out wholesaling, beating like 60 plus K, and usually it depends on the access too as well. If they say no access, then we're gonna take it down.
So you're not wholesaling at all really right now?
No.
Everything's on the MLS.
Yeah. I would say 95% is non-wholesale, non-assignments,
Or I guess I wouldn't say non-wholesale. It's a different way.
It's not assignment
exit.
Fees. Yeah.
It's not just crash buyer.
Exactly.
And that's marketing off the MLS.
Yeah. And that hurts your cash conversion cycle, right? From the time the lead comes in your system, you spend money on it, comes in your system, the time you get paid. I think on ours, it's like 80 days or 75 days versus like if you're doing cash deals, like it's like 35, 40 days. So like it takes double the time for us to get paid, which hurt last year sometimes, right? When you're like having a bad month and contracts and in 2 months from now, you're going to be hurting and you can't it's hard to speed it up like we're mentioning because you're not selling to traditional cash investors off your buyer's list, right? So it's a little, again, give or take there.
What is your average gross profit
per deal?
Yeah.
It's about 33,000.
33,000. So going off the MLS, about 33,000.
Exactly.
And what was your average wholesale fee prior to this?
I believe it was like $17,000 to $18,000, like 17.5, I think it was roughly. And this is in 2021. We started 2022 doing this, so
why?
It's been a while. Well, we had a mentor that we learned from, Ren Bartlett. This is again back in the end of I think 2021. We hired Ren to coach us. I remember telling you about it, and I was excited about it, getting him to be one-on-one coaching with us.
Mhm.
And a big thing that his organization was doing this. And I was like, wait, hold on. I didn't even thought about it. Back to what we were talking about earlier, collective genius mastermind groups we've been a part of is like, he put in the room with him and he told me about this. And I was like, I didn't even know this thing existed, that you could even do this. So we quickly started trying it end of 2021, and we saw like, whoa, we did one, we did two. We got twice the amount of money we thought we were going to make on this deal by putting this on the market,
Right.
And worked out the kinks of it in the beginning, obviously working with the lenders, underwriters, trying to learn that. So by the time 22 hit, our deal size, again, pretty much doubled. And I think in 2022, when we went full on with this, I know the year was also up and down because of the way the interest rates went. I think our deal size was like the first quarter when it was still hot, was like 44,000. And we were shooting for 35,000. And so we're like, holy crap, this is the money. And so again, that's really why we did it, to make more money, and to allow us to pay more to sellers, to be honest, too.
Yeah, we can pay the sellers more.
Exactly.
And I think one of the other things too, you were the one that first ones to tell me, like, Steve, like, I'm selling everything open door.
Yeah, that was another thing. I mean, that was again from people in CG, right?
Right.
It wasn't me that created that, but like I took from people in CG, and that time, 2022, I believe, 2020, 2021, through 2021 and the beginning of 2022, but most of 2021, we took them. And now looking back on it, I know we all think this, but we could have ran them really out of business then, because they were buying houses from us. You got the experience too. I swear to God, $60K over market value on a couple properties. $60K over market value. So back to that, we're just taking advantage, and I'm looking for that next one now. So big thing, we can talk about it, but it's just finding people that are just on the top of this business. And I tried to intentionally pay them somehow or to bring some value into it, right? Like I think we all try to do it to see what they are doing. And that's what's led us to the open door. Ren talking to us about listing on the MLS, and I'm on the hunt for the next one.
Yeah. Well, so let me talk about that. So, we're going to walk down memory lane here of all the different things you've done, coaching wise, right? Personal development. It sounds like personal development is really important here.
Yes, it is.
Right. What was the very first program you went through?
The first program I went through, the first full program was Disruptors. Just before that, though, I did go into like Maxwell's, like We Live, all their events and all that.
I remember meeting at We Live.
Yeah, we met at We Live 19.
I remember at some point you worked with Kong.
Yeah, well, I just became good friends with them and started doing stuff with them. But so Kong was like a little bit after that, like working, became good friends with Kong.
Yeah, because we were speaking at We Live, and Kong was there as well.
And you were with us. It was me, you, Kong, and like two other guys just hanging around. John Paul too, my former business partner. And then we were just talking stuff, laughing, and that was a good night.
So you got to work. So not necessarily coached by Kong, but you got to work alongside Kong.
Yeah.
Right, and then you obviously was at We Live with Maxwell. Somewhere along the line, you were working with All In.
Yeah, I just, again, with them too, it wasn't through their program, but I bought into some of their softwares, their systems, their process, and I really dug into just, again, hanging with them, talking with them at, I think it was Tony Robbins' event, or Tony Robbins. I don't want to mix up Tony Robinson, right?
Yeah, Tony the Closer.
Tony the Closer, that's it, not Tony Robbins.
A little different.
Yeah, a little different
Slightly
guy.
different guy. Yeah.
So anyway, he had an event, and then All In guys were there, and I had a pretty one-on-one conversations, a lot of stuff, but not through their program either. But to your point, a lot of coaching throughout the years, and including, maybe I didn't go through the program, but a lot of coaching through Kong, All In, watching a lot of their stuff, digging in, buying some of their, not programs, but buying into some of their softwares and systems,
their
products. And then Maxwell, Steve Trang, Big Stevie. It was the first program like I really took on and went through a system and learned, a bunch of things right through it. So again, everyone here, we're having this convo, but I would say 100% check out salesdisruptors.com right there. Got the t-shirt on.
That's right.
But yeah, and now you're training all our people. So, but to continue your flow, like you said, went from working with Maxwell, going through his events, Kong, All In, Steve, Sub 2, Pace, becoming pretty close with Pace too, and learning a lot of stuff that he does there. Then it brought me into, I know I'm missing some stuff along the way. I did join Tiffany High and their stuff in like 2021 or 2022, just for the 3 week. Actually, I think Chandler did it, my past partner too. He did all of it. So I think it was like a 3 week program, or maybe it was 3 month. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. And then I said I did a lot. Now the last like year, Eric Brewer did Novation, did private money course with you as well.
Oh yeah. Private
money. And then we did the Novation, the Brewer method. And what else? I mean, just a bunch of different
And one-on-one
things.
with Ren.
One-on-one with Ren. Worked a little bit with some of Eric Guidenson, which maybe a lot of you guys don't know, but big player in San Diego.
Low key. Like,
Low
if you don't know
key.
Eric, you're missing out.
Yeah, big time, Eric and Phil.
Yeah.
And then Sharper as well. Sharper Solutions, doing a lot of the quarterlies. And so, yeah, I've tried to get as much as possible, get in, many groups. And I know, like, obviously I follow Steve, helped me a lot through this too, by, hey, go here, go there, go to these people. And then that's like, obviously just took it from there. So it's been a big help. Big Stevie.
Well, appreciate that.
Asian Dad too. That's his second name. We call him Asian Dad.
Yeah.
My Asian Dad.
Yeah. When we text, right, it's like, my Italian son.
Yeah. And he's the real Italian too, born in Italy.
So, and I bring this up because there's a lot of people, not necessarily the people that are listening to this show. I think a lot of people that listen to the show probably are more personal development minded, but there are a lot of people that are opposed to investing in themselves. Yeah. So what would you say to someone that's like, I can figure it out on my own?
Well, that's a good question, right? I look at it and they're thinking of it as an expense most of the time. They're like, I could just figure this on my own and I don't have to save I can save my $7 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand. The reality is it's just like the marketing spend. And again, like you said, a lot of people watching this, I know, and I watch it, and they're doing business and they're having business deals, and there are no problem spending 10 grand on SMS or 10 grand on mail a month and all that, and because they're looking at it as a return. Again, most of the people watching this, right? They look at it as an ROI on their marketing. And the same thing though with personal development. Pineda, I mentioned Pineda too. Yeah. Just to bring this one up, like we went and paid $5 grand to golf with Pineda. Steve was making fun of me. All these guys are making fun of me, laughing, like good. Like, we're just messing around, right? And
it was really more envy than it was.
Okay, well, I'm just messing around. Like we're joking. Like, you're paying for golf to play golf with Pineda, $5 grand, and again, to the whole point of ROI. Yeah, we built a good connection, able to build a relationship with Ryan, and then 6 months later, we were speaking on stage in front of 400 people for him. He invited us on, and that obviously led to a lot of deals and business done. Looking at that $5 grand, I'll tell you, we more than 10, 20, 30x that with deals with people with our own program we had, and so. Again, challenging those people to think like, what are you trying to get out of it? Are you going to have a return on your investment? Is the brewer method you're going to learn to spend the money on it? Can you make, a multitude of, multiples of that back? And brewer method was part of it. Ren did teach us to put on the MLS, but I'll use a lot of Eric Brewer, Steve's methodology and talking to sellers to be able to allow us to put this on the market.
Right.
So again, back to that, like 5 or whatever it was back then, 5K now, I don't know what it is, not to put it on, but back then it was 5K, right? And well worth it either way. We've done drastic hundreds of deals, closed deals because of that system. And so think about that return on that there.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. So again, back to your point, look at it as an ROI. You're investing in yourself. Is it a return on investment? You'll keep it the rest of your life. Yeah. It's not going to go away. It's not like the mail piece, though. Even if you look at it as ROI, the mail piece, like the January campaign's done now. Yeah, you might get a call a year later. Again, mail is a bad example, but it's done. Versus this, you can keep the rest of your,
with you forever.
Sales training, right, for the rest of your life.
One thing that you and I were talking before we went on air was that you got season tickets to the Hawks.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't you just do the Ryan Pineda model?
Yeah. See, yeah, you talked to me. Steve's already helped me with that too.
Yeah. So what's the proposed plan, and is that something you want to do?
Yeah, no, you bring it up. So yeah, me and Steve were just talking just before this, and Steve put this in my head. So again, Ryan Pineda paid him to golf $5 grand. Obviously for him, it's a good relationship building, 4 hours with them. So me and Steve were talking, and Steve's idea, to give him the credit, he said, look, we got season tickets, me and my buddy Nico, we mentioned already, right behind the bench, the Hawks bench. And I was behind the visitors bench, excuse me. So we purposely did that so we could resell them. Anyone comes up. We got the Lakers coming in. We got Golden State. We got Clippers, and we got the Suns, all within 4 days of each other, all within like 6 days of each other. Yeah. So point being, Steve said, why don't you do something where you charge X amount of rate and have them come in? You can sit with you courtside. You got a 2-hour game. We go eat before. We go eat maybe after. Maybe we don't have to eat after because we're gonna have food there too. But we go hang out after and make it a whole product. And shit, we need to start doing that. Yeah. Sorry, no cursing, but shoot, we should start doing that. Right. So again, that's the new proposal potential. Thanks, Steve. You might be the first. He's coming in for free. Steve, you're welcome on and come to any game you want. But no, that being said, like, it's there.
But that's a function, right?
That's a function
of going to Ryan's event. And like, for better or for worse, we have this connection because you were in my mentorship program.
Exactly.
Right. And we got really close through that. And then you were in sub 2. So you have a relationship with Pace. Yeah. And you go to Pineda's thing, your relationship with Pineda. Like, yeah, it's money. Yeah, there's a cost. But how much value do you get from that? And and other podcasts I've done with Paul Sparks, like, there's no shame in buying relationships.
So that's what I was gonna say. I bought friends, but I don't. Now we have relationships, like you said.
Yep, absolutely. So, you're virtually wholesaling with 40 team members?
Yeah, roughly. Now it's about 35, about 30, 35 people on and off, right? But virtually wholesaling, just meaning that even if we're living reside in Atlanta majority of my time in the year, and even if I'm there, we're locking things up over the phone. So Steve knows that. That's what we're going to talk about probably after this a little bit too. Is just and go on that little tangent. For 5 years, I've been doing this. Started in 2018, end of 2018, and ever since then. Since the beginning, people say close in person. Now, in 2018, I wanted to design this business going into that to be where I could be anywhere in the world. I fell in love in traveling. About when I was like 16, my parents took me to Europe, and I saw that world. And I said, this exists. There's, you see 2,000-year-old churches, you see 2,000-year-old, buildings and food and all this. So again, caught my bug there. Just to bring it back to the story is that I was like, I want to do this all around the world. I don't want to go in person to someone's house and try to lock up a contract. So that influenced how I built the business.
You built the business to suit your lifestyle.
Exactly. Suit where I wanted to be and how I wanted my lifestyle.
A lot of power in that.
Yeah. And I say I have no regrets in doing that. In 5 years, like I said, within that 5, everyone was still saying to me, you just go in person. I don't want to say I was being stubborn. It came to one point, I think I was talking to you maybe about this too, and Ren, I talked to them multiple, and they're like, look, if it's working, don't change what's working for you, Now, fast forward to today, we're starting to do maybe a little hybrid model, but obviously it's not me going out there with our acquisition reps. But back where you're saying virtual company majority in all the last 5 years, locking things up over the phone, selling deals, no one really going in person other than hiring people to take pictures and stuff like that. So that's what's allowed me to live the lifestyle.
So we're going to talk about traveling, right? We're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that, you've gone through a little bit of, you've had some experiences with partnerships.
Yeah, I had a lot of experiences with partnerships. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but I've had a good amount of experiences. So.
Yeah. So what were some of the biggest things that jumped out, and what lessons did you learn from them?
Yeah, I mean, so the first one that I had was of a childhood best friend. And that was
famous Netflix actor.
Yeah, famous Netflix actor, the lead role in a Netflix movie. John Paul Keikos. It's full count. I'm actually an extra in it, but John Paul was the lead actor in it. But yeah, no, we're just childhood friends, and it was one of those things I think a lot of people do, or at least a lot of people I talk to. Right? They say, hey, I've been friends with this guy all along. We were doing deals like before this. We were selling shoes on eBay. We were to buy Apple cables from China, Alibaba, sell them on eBay. We would buy stuff at Ross, flip it together. And so we all had that entrepreneur together mind. And so I discovered wholesaling when he was actually filming that movie. And so as soon as he came back, I brought him in. I was like, let's go, let's do this together. And that was a part now looking back on it, like, don't bring your best friends just to bring them in as a partnership, especially if you have the same qualities and same characteristics. Like, again, we're both pretty good at sales. We're both talk to people. And that's not a good partnership necessarily. I think a good partnership, right? Someone that can complement you. More than likely, it's probably not your best friend, and it's not a friend from childhood. It's, you really want to be precise on who you're going to pick and, really decide and dissect if this person's going to benefit me and help me. And on that point is like, are they going to are they going to be able to come in there and hold me balanced, keep me balanced? Like, if they're good at sales, I'm good at sales. Who's going to do the marketing? Who's going to do the systems? Who's going to do operations? And so my first partnership was really just, hey, we're friends. Let's go do business together. And obviously that didn't work out in the long term. One, also visions, right? We didn't have the same visions. Right. John Paul wanted to be an actor. And he was lead role in a Netflix movie that was on Netflix. Like, what was I thinking? Like, we were going to do wholesaling forever? You know what I mean? So, he had aspirations. I had aspirations. At the end of the day, it just turned to be like, look, we're both doing the same job. And I have more energy to do the wholesaling because I'm full in. You're doing acting. Like, it's best probably to part ways. So, Again, just learning that where's the person that you're thinking of partnering with, are they going to benefit you? Are they going to balance you? Are they going to be able to do the things that you don't like? Are they going to be really good at the things you don't like? Not that can they just do them? Are they going to be really good at the marketing, really good at the systems? Yeah. And also, where's their vision? Do they want to be wholesaling, or they want to be, doing real estate for the rest of their life, whatever it might be, right? Yeah. And if there's any conflict in the beginning, it's not getting any better. You're not going to have a better scenario down the road, to be honest. So, like, just get it out the way, set expectations.
Visions don't get closer. No. Visions get further apart.
Exactly. Everything changes. So, I mean, that was the first big partnership, and that's, I think, one that a lot of people can kind of relate to. They might have a similar experience too.
Yeah, and I would say for sure, my partnership that ended, the most recent relation that ended, was because we started off with similar visions.
Yep.
Right? and then we had very different visions.
Exactly.
And a lot of those distractions and visions is because I saw what was possible with collective genius,
Exactly.
and I wanted that. Right? It's like Frank Cava's doing what?
Yeah, exactly.
Eric Brewer is doing what? Phil Green's doing what? Let's do all those things. Amanda Dean, she's a person on the show before you, right? She worked with Dan Lane. Like Dan Lane, Jeremy Fish, Amanda Dean. What are they doing? Why are we doing that?
Copy that, yeah.
So it's just a difference of vision. And so it's hard to work together when you have different aspirations.
Exactly.
And the other thing too, just on your point, is I got a chance to go to ClickFunnels September of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Thomas was speaking on stage. You know Eric?
Yeah. The motivation, right?
Hip hop preacher.
Yeah.
Right. And there's one thing he said that really stuck out for me. And it was, just because I would die for you doesn't mean we should do business together.
See, exactly.
Right? It's like, just because I love you doesn't mean we should work together.
Exactly, yeah.
That's
right? 100% it.
But we so often, when we start in the beginning of our entrepreneur journey, it's like, look, Gino, you and I, we get along.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Let's
just find someone that you would die for. And you're just like, oh, let's do a business together, you know?
Yeah, right? Because I die for you. Why would I not work hard? Why would we not get to be business partners?
Exactly.
Just because you would doesn't mean everything else
it's supposed to
falls into alignment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what else? Was there other parts?
Yeah. So off that, that was about the end of 2021, I believe. So end of 2021, we decided to part ways, and it was mutual, cordial, good friends still. And then that led to, at that time, Chandler, some of you guys might know that's watching this, Chandler was working as a marketing director for us at the time, doing marketing things and a lot of other things, helping us tremendously. And Chandler's actually lucky enough, I had Chandler too, because he's very blunt. And he was literally like told my buddy, John Paul, he's like, we don't want you here anymore. And Chandler didn't even own the company. He was saying that. Like, he was like, he telling him, because he saw what the end of it. So Chandler helped me a lot with that, which led into me and Chandler growing the business in 2022, 2020, and end of 2021, Chandler joined and immediately impacted us. But again, by the end of 2021, John Paul was out. All 2022, me and Chandler just took over. And again, Chandler came in there and he did everything, and I learned from my previous partnership. Chandler did a lot of things, almost everything better than I could, in certain parts of the business. Immediately impacted, grew the business, helped this department get back on its feet, this department build the procedures. So very good partnership, and it just ended up being more of that vision thing as well. Middle of this year, roughly, is when we decided I kind of felt it coming. Chandler is. Obviously, again, for him, he had a different vision. He wanted to help more people through the education space, which, why not? I mean, it's not something like I'm upset about. Like, of course, that's what he wanted to do. That's what's more fulfilling for him. And so I think after a year of him being in the dispo director role for us as well, that paired with, the vision on our education company growing and building more clients, I think it ended up being an end goal where just, we decided to part ways. And again, Chandler, we're still, cordial still. It's not like you screw him and stuff like that, we're still very good friends and we're still partners in the education company.
Yeah.
But just decided that, hey, the best thing for you, Chandler, and you fulfilled, and it's not me, Chandler's the one that made this, which is what I'm happy about. It wasn't like I had to push him away or he had to push me away. That's what I like about Chandler. We said, look, this is what you want to do. All right, go do it. And so again, now just broke up from that and, just again, like I said, cordial, nothing that's too hostile, but hostile at all. Just working towards and helping each other. And like I said, still working with the education program because, I still have ownership, but it's Chandler's boat to row.
So it doesn't really sound like there's a lot of lessons necessarily. It was just kind of a story.
It was a story. I mean, the lessons, look, here, let's talk about this. Steve, I called Steve up, right? And right before I even gave Chandler and our organization, he never became an equity partner. He was a profit split, not to diminish what he did. He did everything the same, and he got paid as if he was an equity partner. But who'd I learn that from? Steve, right? So I broke up from John Paul, immediately called Steve. I said, look, Chandler's killing it for us. Chandler's doing this, and I see him being a fit for a longer term. And, Steve's like, well, hold on, don't think about putting that equity out yet, right? Don't think about that. Make, incentivize Chandler, incentivize whoever that person might be into getting some sort of profit split or equity. And luckily, I probably would have just gave it because it's my personality a lot of the times. But, Steve told me, let him earn it. So throughout that first year, I consistently gave Chandler, goals based on the quarter. Hey, we do this quarter, it goes up. We do this quarter, it goes up. We do this quarter, it goes up. And sorry, not to mess up this whole conversation, but 2020, end of 2020 is when we got John Paul out. I'm a year behind. So Chandler's with me all 2021, all 2022, and then this year. So sorry not to throw that back in the convo, but so it was another extra year on there. But again, like I said, I called you up, and then that would have been at the beginning of 2021. So 2020 is when John Paul left, and I asked you. And again, Steve was telling me, look, take your time, let Chandler earn it, let him do it, and that's what I did. And so that's how it progressed. Big lesson there. That's what you're asking. Big lesson is just don't. Even if you have someone on your team that thinks you might be a good COO or someone on your team that you think might be a good director, don't just give them eggs. Let them prove themselves, even if you believe they're there. And again, of course, figure out their goals. Their goals might be, you might be paying them $3,000 a month, and they're the star player. Why would you not go up to $5,000? But the reality is we're talking about in detail with a partnership, and I quickly, with you, made that adjustment and started rewarding them based on quarter to get certain more amounts of profit split per year. And then again, final goal or final lesson there is when we exited the business in middle of this year, May, June, it's very simple. It's just you had profit split. Now you don't. You're gone. You're working everything else. So thanks to Steve for that advice.
Saved you a little bit of headaches.
Saved me headaches. Now a year, 2 years later, right? So
who knows how expensive it would be to buy them out.
Exactly. So obviously we worked something out where it was cordial. He got more than amount of money, and it wasn't just like you're gone. But again, it just still worked out to where it wasn't a massive headache.
Yeah. Well, and that's the challenge with giving up equity. And I say giving up, like not in a way to like, we're being charitable.
Yeah.
It's just that once it's given.
Yeah, it's hard to take it back.
It's hard to take it back. It's really hard to take it back. It's really, really, really messy. All right. So you're traveling 7 months a year.
Yeah. That was about
last year. You're doing like 13 transactions a month.
Yeah. And last year was a little less than that, but this year is 13. But, did over $2 million in gross profits last year.
Yeah. It's $2 million. So So I got to fix the title now because I said $1 million. It's multi-million.
Yeah.
Right. But you're traveling. How does that work?
We've got a great team. We mentioned about 30, 35 people just depending on, hopefully I'm not losing them every week, but, goal is not to lose them. But, we're making some adjustments. But again, about 30 people on our team. Great directors. I got 5 directors right now from marketing, lead management director, acquisition director, disposition, transaction coordination. Right? Those are the 5 directors. And what I'm able to do is, even though right now, on to what Chandler's saying is he was a COO. Now I don't have a COO, but what I look at, and it's kind of what Frank Cava used to teach about, it's another guy that's in our Collecting Genius Mastermind, is that, going down and using your directors as their own kind of COOs. So to the point is, having a great group of COOs. I talk to them weekly. Those are really the only dedicated calls I have, minus our win meeting, our level 10 meeting. And just, again, having clear, concise goals and KPIs and being able to identify what is success for that role and the company and that department. And again, that's what allowed me truly to take out, that 7 months. Now, that being said, it wasn't 7 months of just shut the phone off. I worked every day, probably like just less than new normal, but like 4 to 5 hours a day. I was working, Monday through Friday. And reality is, if you ask my fiance, it's every second of the day. I'm thinking about, so why did you ask her that? Did you do that? And to give her some credit, she is the transaction coordinator. So she's getting hit at like 11 p.m. Like, hold on, I just thought of, is that deal? Did it get solved like that? And so it's as great as it sounds, it's not 7 months off. But at the same time, it allowed me to do what I wanted to do, like I told you in 2018, where I went to Europe and now the last 2 years we've been to Europe, an average of probably 7 months just Europe combined the last year, and been to Japan last year, excuse me. Went to Africa for just a couple of days, part of the trip, all over the U.S. So yeah, it just allowed me, because of my great team and directors, allowed me to start doing what I really wanted to do. So
to add clarity, it's not vacation 7 months a year.
Exactly.
Because you're not in the 48 states.
Yeah, exactly. Not in this continent.
Yeah. So, and that doesn't water it down anyway, right? Like you're still working remotely, but you don't actually have to be at the houses. You don't actually have to have a face-to-face, sit down, hey, Gino, come to my office and have a conversation. You're able to do it all virtually.
Exactly.
So 5 directors.
Directors.
It was transactions, leads, dispo, acquisitions,
marketing.
No finance.
I'm the finance director.
You're the finance director.
I'm the finance guy. I learned that in 2022 quick. I need to be on top of that finance director role. So
why?
Why? Because I saw money going out of the business that I didn't think was possible coming out of the business, especially when I started. We all started, right? Where I was like, when I first did it was like, wait, hold on. People spend $5,000 a month on this business? This is when I first started. Now I'm looking at like, we spend 6 figures every single month, no matter what, if we make no money. So I quickly realized like I need to step it up and try to actually monitor my expenses. So so I'm the finance director.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about these 5 directors, how did you find these directors?
Good question. Of course, the multitude of different ways. Transaction coordinator. So my fiance's been doing it for 2.5 years, and so that was pretty easy find. She's laying next to me in my bed.
Personal question.
Yeah.
Was she a transaction coordinator and then your fiance?
No, because we met when we were 15. So
okay,
there's no TCs involved at 15 years old. But
I just want to make sure,
no,
right?
no.
Like for everyone else, like, hey, like, you know.
No, it wasn't an HR problem. No, it was well before that. Right?
Okay. All right. So your fiance. All right. So that one's the easier one.
Yeah, that's the easier one, right? So then marketing director, his name's Adam. He came from actually being a referral from Jared, which is a former acquisition manager of mine. He became an acquisition manager, actually, Adam. I know he said he was marketing director for about 2 years. He was his PI is a predictive index behavioral test, is I don't want to butcher it because he just retook it, operator. Mm-hmm. And I had him in the PI, or had him in a sales role, which just meant that over time he's gonna hate it. He's gonna hate it. So that happened, of course. PI was right. And now I quickly saw that we needed a need for marketing, put him in that. So again, it was an internal hire. We go over to lead management director, Jordan. Met him on a plane going to LA in like 2020, right before COVID, I actually remember. And he saw me reading a book, Traction. It was right when I was reading Traction too. And he's like, what is that about? And so funny enough, his fiance now, or actually his wife now, I went to their wedding, so I should know that. His wife now was at that time just left the sorority, not to go into the sorority talk on the Real Estate Disruptors podcast, but no, was in the sorority of my fiance now at our college. So they were like, oh wait, we know, again, she left the year before, but they knew each other. And so they started talking on the plane, which led to Jordan talking to me. I told him what I do. About 6 months later, he tried doing it. And after 6 months later, he's like, can I join the team? So he started as a lead manager back in like 2021.
Got it.
Early 2021. And so he's worked his way up, LM director. Very amazing job. Next is AM director, Marcus, which Steve, you'd work with him, train him, just through social media. That's how I found him. Worked with us for a year as an AM, a little bit actually less than that, and then quickly saw that he had the leadership skills, the ability to communicate very well to the other acquisition managers, and AM director. And then Brad is our disposition investment sales rep director, sells our deals. Came from social media, and he worked he worked on his own too. I think he worked in a Keegley franchise as well, but been amazing. Knows way more than what I would know, and that's the goal, obviously, for your people, right? To go in there. And so again, social media. So it's a mix: social media, in person. I met him on the plane, Jordan, but and then internal. So all over the place, to be honest.
So pretty good to have a former Keegley guy as your rep.
Yeah.
They have some pretty good internal training on dispo.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the power of social media, right? And so, but they didn't find you through social media. You found Marcus through social media.
No, they found me through social media.
They found you through social media.
For your point, Marcus and Brad both found me through social media.
Yeah. So, I mean, the power of social media. So talk about like the effect it's had for you.
Yeah, no, a lot of my people, I think probably out of the 30, probably 10 came from social media. They saw me post, and it's great that we're a virtual company too, because we got people that Marcus lives in Washington. Marquise joined us earlier this year, or last year, excuse me. He's in Florida. So yeah, the power of social media, man, just putting stuff out there and showing people that you're actually doing this business. And I got to do a better job, to be honest. The last 3 months, I took a little hiatus from it, but I need to get back on it. And that just showing people that you're doing this business, I think gains a lot of respect, especially in the last year and a half when a lot of people we know left the business or they're not doing it anymore.
Early retirement.
Yeah, early retirement. They took a little break, but no. So yeah, that's the ability I think for social media give you. The credibility. They see you doing it. They see you hanging out with Steve. They see you hanging out with Eric or Ren or Ryan or whoever it is, right? And so I think it's very important, not only just for, hiring people, but, I think for long-term longevity in this business, being known so that you could pivot on certain things, right?
Yeah. And there were a couple different advice. I remember we had a ton of conversations over the years and in mentorship. One of them, I think, kind of took to heart. The other one, I think, went sideways. But yeah, I was pushing so hard to create content. Yeah. Right. And I think you just fought it so hard.
Yeah. It's not naturally something, like obviously I'm extroverted on, I am I get, power. I feel great talking to people, but just like putting the camera on, it drains me. Right.
Yeah. But I was pushing you like, dude, your brand should be like the college kid that wholesales.
Yeah.
And I was pushing you to create like Instagram Reels or Instagram videos, I guess at the time, because Reels wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
Like, go create Instagram content of you talking about doing wholesale deals while you're at college.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that I got a lot of pushback there. The other thing.
Yeah, it was that way. But that's another thing. Yeah, we did this all through college, which helped me build that virtual team as well. Because it forced me to have to go to school, even though I didn't really go that. I mean, I went to school, but I didn't really, 8 hours a day or 8 hours a week versus.
Well, and because you were doing well in wholesale, you could afford a VA.
Yeah, exactly.
To take your classes.
And that's what we did. Yeah, I did have a VA. My executive assistant still today is, she did at the later part of she did a lot of presentations and tests for me. So
yeah, she deserves her own degree.
Off the record. Exactly.
Not to out you, on a public podcast.
I got my diploma still, man. Don't worry. You can't take it from me.
But the other thing too was, we're talking about building your brand, leveraging TV. Now, my understanding, you don't do TV anymore.
Yeah, so that was a big thing you were talking to me about, right? I started at the beginning or end of 2020, right after the election, strategically. But started TV and did it for 2 years. And when 2022, the end of 22 hit, but towards that end period, it was starting to swallow, and you're getting 35, 40 grand a month.
Right.
And you're not seeing any return or very little. But again, to your, for you bringing it up, like Steve told me, if you're doing this for 10 more years, people will know you. And, even though I did it only for 2 years, I still have a lot of people that, friends, family, and also other people like, oh, wait, were you on the TV commercial?
Yeah. To
Steve's point, which kind of is contradicting what I'm saying. I need to get probably back on it in some sort of marketing capacity.
Steve Ham.
Yeah.
Right.
PPC Force.
So I was talking to him, and we were having a conversation about, like, hey, if I want to do PPC Phoenix, what's up? I'm like, well, you should do it. A, you should do it. B, also know you're going against the buzzsaw.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about? Like Doug Hopkins. So who cares? Right? Like, I'm in the same market as Doug, but if we're doing PPC, like, what's the difference?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Nobody can top Doug Hopkins in conversion rates. Meaning, if you go to Steve Trang's PPC site, you're going to get between 13 and 16% conversion rate. 13 to 16% of people land on the page are going to put their information in.
Yeah.
Right? That's industry standard. There's nothing good or bad. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
My understanding is Doug Hopkins has a 25% opt-in rate, right? Like, if you
50% more, yeah.
Like, sell my house fast, buy my house. Oh, I'm on Doug Hopkins' page. 25%, right? So that means he's getting more leads.
Yep.
Cheaper, because Google is seeing he has a really good conversion rate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? So he's buying more deals, getting more leads, and he's paying less on TDC.
Yep.
Because of his brand.
Exactly.
Right. So I guess with all that being said, are you going to be going back on TV then?
I think it's definitely a possibility. Now, with that being said, I'm also in 3 different areas now. Right. Atlanta's not really where we're finding the most return on our investment. So that's why it's, I mean, it's a question I should be saying is yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Dad.
Well, I'm just curious, right? Because when you were doing TV and it was harder, you weren't doing the MLS model yet.
I was.
You were?
I was, yeah. For it just happened that the MLS model was during the 2022. I started in 2022, so I started MLS in 2022 and TV in 2020.
Yeah.
So it was towards 1 year of doing the MLS model.
Right. I'm just curious how that would look.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would be a lot better. I think during that time, though, like we mentioned, that 2022 was a little dark age. I know in Phoenix it hit hard in that June of 2022.
Still have scars.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it hurt all the big, I think, markets, San Diego and even, like I said, Georgia. Like, it just wasn't. So, I mean, like you said, I might have caught the bad end of the stick there and got a little bit too. But Atlanta's another, like, the market where you got Doug here. You got a lot of big players. Open Door. Of course. So I forgot his name. Mark Spain. I mean, I know you're not in the area, but you've probably heard of Mark Spain.
Yeah.
You talk to Amanda.
In the realtor world, you know Mark Spain.
Yeah. If you talk to Amanda, which, she was here last week in Nashville, like, he's ginormous. In Nashville, Georgia, northern Florida, I think maybe even near South Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, the guy dominates. Yeah. And I think PPC Force, we ran PPC Force in Atlanta. Cost per click was like $750 per click. No, per click. Ask Steve Ham. I know it sounds ridiculous. He was telling me because he's like, look, you need to spend like $100 and something thousand to even get the leads that you want to hit. Then you got to convert. Yeah, I know it sounds like, but I'm telling you, it's cost per click. Like, it's like a ridiculous amount that you have to spend. Because usually, what's cost per click usually?
$40-ish around here.
Okay, well then maybe I'm retarded. No, maybe that's my visionary talking in there. But I swear it was like, okay, so maybe it's cost per lead.
Yeah.
But I still think it was something ridiculous, but it was still $800 and something because here it's probably what, 400 or 500 cost per lead.
Cost per lead. I think these days probably closer to $250.
Okay.
Because only because we had a lot of people retire early.
Oh, they left early
in the wholesale business.
Back in the day, it was like $400 or $500.
Oh yeah, $400.
Yeah.
Like that was just normal.
So when that was going on in Georgia, because this was end of 2022, I think still people were trying to survive that were taking early retirement. They're still trying to survive. They in Georgia, like I said, it was like $750, $850. He's like, dude, if you're not spending $100K a month, you're not even going to hit in Atlanta. And that's partially why we started adapting to just try these other markets that still had very good median sale home price, right? So we can still get our deal size that we want. They still had very low supply, low days on market. And I'm talking about Dallas and Raleigh-Durham, so that it still would facilitate, not increase our cash conversion cycle, while still having the MSA, this population, the target. Because even up to about 2 months ago, we were very heavily SMS. Not that was our only marketing source, but it was heavily SMS marketing. All point being, back to TV and back to what we're talking about is like, that's why maybe we should start building a brand in those other markets too as well.
Could be Mark Spain.
It could be Mark Spain, and Big Marky. I could take him out.
It's gonna take a little bit more money. Over time.
I think I got the time on him, and I think he's probably, guessing his age, probably like 40 something, 24. So we got another 20 years to.
In 15 years, it'll be bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talk to me about expanding to Dallas and Raleigh.
Yeah.
So like, what was the vision in going to the markets? Because I think you were, Dallas was the first market you expanded to, or was Raleigh?
Yep. Dallas was the first one.
Okay. So why Dallas?
Yeah. So back to the what I was just mentioning is what we want to figure out. Obviously, you want to check all the boxes. We want to still be able to dispo on the MLS. We're still able to do that in Texas. We still want to be able to reach a lot of people. We're SMS marketing. We need to go through data like crazy. Dallas Fort Worth is a huge MSA. We can do that there, right? Just as much as Georgia. I think they're just, they're I think 4 or 5. They're bigger, so that's the point, right? Mm-hmm. So we can hit just as much people. Their days on market, and we specifically just to try out Dallas, we pulled 50,000 records, and of the top zip codes that had the most cash sales, the most people that were buying in there. So we did that. We didn't just hit all of it, but at first, and so we went in there with the targeted mindset because, again, median home price, the amount of population, the low supply that was still there during this time was just this. They're all equivalent to Georgia. If you put them next to each other, I remember looking back on this with Chandler when we were there, and we're like, this is pretty much Georgia right here, just 2-hour plane ride away.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, obviously we had difficulties with it being an hour behind us. We got to change phone numbers. Back to talking about in person versus over the phone. I had that same conversation for the last 5 years, like I did there, with stay in your state. You can take all your money in Georgia. You don't need to leave the state. And I fought for 5 years on that too. Like, yeah, I can. I'm going deeper and deeper. Got to a point with SMS. We're sending 27,000 outbound texts a day. There does get a point where it becomes like, all right, let's try to target some low-hanging fruit somewhere else, right? And so that's what we did. Quickly saw success. Did 3 multiple 6-figure wholesales. So we're like, holy cow! Like there's such a good deals. We're not going to put these on the MLS. We're going to buy them last year. And so that was a big thing again, though. Back to your point is just looking at the demographics, looking at the supply, looking at the median price, looking at days on market. That was the reason we took Dallas. It looked similar to Georgia, and we felt still being able to dispo there like we do now. Let's try it out, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people. Same thing with Raleigh-Durham. Less people there, but regarding statistics, they're way better than Georgia. Days on market so low compared to Georgia. I think I just looked at it again last week. I think it was like 9 or 10 in Raleigh-Durham, and Georgia now is at like 18. Mm-hmm. So that's like for days on market, and same like supply is significantly lower.
Really low.
They're the best at the time when I was looking for this. Excuse me, it was like in July. July. They were the best by far in terms of the whole country, other than some little markets in California that had the very hot stuff. But like in the southeast where we're at, like they were the hottest market. So quickly pivoted there again. Worked in slowly, bought some data, went in there, and where we saw the success, started targeting it. And now it's, like I said, it's about 40% of our marketing spend goes to Raleigh-Durham and Texas.
So you pull the data. What data do you like?
For just the statistics or
for the SMS?
Oh, for me? Oh, for SMS, yeah, for where we get our data. Audantic, but, of course, it gives you a certain amount of records. You get tapped out. We pull straight from the county as well. I mean, PropStream's in there too with the county stuff, but like PropStream, I mean, we just pull everything at this point. 80/20 is a very good software or very good data. We don't have as much with them, but they're very good as well. I like to put them on the podcast because I hear everyone doing great with 80/20. But yeah, that's where most of our stuff is like just a bulk data and just freaking nail and bail, man, nail and bail them in SMS. And obviously that's seen some challenges in the last 6 months.
Mhm.
I say we did a really good job other than November. It started really getting hit hard. And that's why going into this year, to make a quick story on it, going into this year, we about took SMS down in half, focused on doing some cold call, doing that at scale. Now I feel really confident about cold calls are probably the best return right now.
Mhm.
And then mail and PPL, paper lead.
Who are you using for cold calling?
Cold call, we're using PBS, which I don't know if you heard
them.
about them. So they used to be the white label to Carlos and Sal's company, Call Geeks. They would be the ones that are
The
making
Egyptians?
the Egyptians. But they had a little beef going on.
Little fallout.
But I don't. They're giving us the stuff. And like I said, the same thing. I saw their whole messages. You don't know who's telling what. Not to discredit any side. And we talked to them. Of course, they said that's all BS. And I think the guy that they had the beef with, Carlos and Sal, is not the same. Like they're like friends. This company, they're not the same. He had his own company off this company. Anyway, long story short, they're giving us like a 9x return right now. I don't care who they are, man. I don't care what's going on. I mean, obviously we have ethics in it, but like we got 9x return. We're spending. We just bumped it up to this month, so I can't give you an accurate number. But back we were spending, I think, like $8,000 a month, and consistent 9x return.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm glad to hear that cold calling still work for you guys. So PBS
PPL, yeah, PBS is the cold calling company.
and then PPL. Who are you liking right now for PPL?
PPL we started in December heavily. Motivated leads is great. Leads Zolo is one, and then the property leads. Property leads.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
I think that's their name. I could ask my marketing director.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think I get marketing material from them, but
I mean, to be honest, and December when we started, I think we spent about $18,000 and we got like 4 contracts, and I was like,
pretty good.
It's pretty good, but with us we're 60% right now fault. So it's like you take that to maybe 2 or 3 closings. Let's say it's 2, you're at $9,000 per cost per deal. It's a roughly 4x return, because like I said, our deal size is about 35,000, 3 point something. It's not the greatest. So I was a little bit like, okay, that's good, but let's see if we can't pump a 5 or 6, especially spending not that much money. I mean, I know $18,000 is a lot, but at the same time, it's not like you're spending $50 a month.
Right.
And now, the start of this year, I think we have up to today, January 10th, we're at like 9 contracts, and 6 of them came from PPL.
Gotcha.
So now you asked me today, I'm on the hot burn for PPL now too.
So no PPC.
No PPC.
Okay.
Now that might be something in the future with not in Atlanta, because like I told you, we had the experience there, and it was not a great experience. So in these other markets, Dallas and probably Durham.
And I mean, you talk about Atlanta. Yeah, we mentioned some big names, but there's also Hadley's there.
Well, exactly. Padley's there, and we're doing similar things, right?
Yeah.
Now they don't focus mostly on paper lead, and they don't do. I mean, I'm good friends with them. Go skiing trips with them. Pat Clint, they're focusing mostly on mail. But regarding the PPC TV, it's not like we're facing them. It was that literally like, and this is a year ago, and PPC was a year ago too. But you're facing Open Door, Zillow, Offerpad, the biggest guys they're buying. I think in Georgia, and I know we all felt this in 2021, even parts of 2022, is I think they were the most. They took the most market share in Georgia. I think it was like 30%. 30% of the homes bought in 2021 was from or it might have been 2022. Excuse me. It was from a hedge fund or a REIT or whatever.
Yeah.
So they took the market share in Georgia.
I mean, I know how that feels.
Yeah, I was gonna say Phoenix just the same, right?
Right.
So we're competing with those guys, and when you're talking about them, like back to the PPC force, Steve talking to him, and he's like, bro, like Mark Spain is spending multiple $1 million a month in Atlanta. You know what you're going to do to even get some of that. And so we're like, don't do that. And so, but back to your point, we still got, obviously just in Phoenix, there's multiple people that are doing this, or in good relationships. I was just hanging out with Clint 2 weeks ago talking about businesses and learning from them, and seeing how he grew that quick is just amazing. Obviously a big help for Ren, and he'll tell you that himself. But like just learning from them, and learning from everyone in our team. Just like you guys do in Phoenix here, right? Just trying to learn from the top guys and take bits and pieces. And I think it's good to mention on the show, like you got to know what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I think you probably share some consent with this. I don't want to be doing $1 million a month. I don't want to have the people and have that mental stress. I know what it looks like. We know people that do that, and it's not as pretty as it seems, and it's really not. The profitability too is not always there. Like a lot of chaos. And so, for me, it's looking at it and trying not to compare myself and trying to, comparisons thief the joy, but looking at it and say, like, what can I take from him? Not just I'm talking about everyone in our market, anyone at Collecting Genius, take a little piece. And how can I use that to fit my
Right.
lifestyle, my dream of a business, right?
And also, how much chaos can we contain?
Exactly.
Or are you okay with? So talk to me about the challenges of going to a new market.
I think the big challenge there is just understanding where you're supposed to be marketing to.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you came to Atlanta, people come to Atlanta and they go to Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. You don't go to city of Atlanta. Every street's different. Every little mark, every house has a different value based on when it was built. Again, the big thing was like every street you could be $300,000 house or a $50,000 house. I know 50 might be a drastic thing, but like very, very different markets, very different streets. A lot of people go there, and people don't like flipping there because the county gets or the city gets involved. Anyway, point being is like if you go to certain areas, you need to learn where is the best for our type of business to get into. And that's where I think a challenge in the beginning is. And it's talking with, luckily we're in a good group, Collective Genius, we keep mentioning the mastermind we're a part of, talking to guys that are doing deals there and telling them like, look, man, we're going to come in here. But I want to work with you. I want to work some things out. I want to figure out how you can benefit with us too if we do some deals. But where would you go? Luckily enough, Brad, who's our dispo director, he's from Texas. So he had a good background on where we should target marketing. And then in North Carolina, just talking to a lot of guys and using data to really adjust and then internally see, okay, we're getting a lot of hits in this city. Let's try to blanket the city in SMS text, do a little strategic marketing there. Big thing. And then I think another big thing is we're closing attorneys in Georgia. Both of these, use closing attorneys, but go through title companies. I think North Carolina is a closing attorney state, but it's just building those relationships with those closing attorneys and title companies, depending on the state. And, we've got screwed a couple of times where they say they answer their calls or they say they have good customer service. Obviously, everyone does, and then we can't get to a closing scheduled at all, right? So that's a big difficulty that I would say everyone would probably face, and you might face if you're doing this. It's just like, and you're going nationwide. It's like finding. I know you can use nationwide title companies. You got to find a really good one to do that too, because we've used some of them and they're like, not giving us as much attention, right? So they're not maybe giving us the best service. So I think again, like I said, the biggest ones is knowing where to market and knowing who you're going to use through your closing attorney, your title company. Those are the biggest challenges.
How would you vet a closing attorney?
Yeah, our big thing is referrals. We used referrals and actually bit us in the butt. So we probably should do a better job at doing that. Now, we did have a Texas one we've been using from the beginning. And how we did that is it was referrals, but also having a deeper conversation with their attorneys. Like, this is what we do. This is how we do it. How quick can you get this done? How quick can you get title back to us to let us know if it's good? How quick can you be able to run all your reports, all your liens? Are you going to have someone on staff that can work on our deals particularly or give it more? Of course, they're not going to up front. They don't know who you are. They're not going to say, yeah, we're putting everyone on you. But like, hey, if we do this, what would it look like? A little sales training there from Steve. Like, hey, if we say we are doing 10 deals a month here, what kind of service would it look like for us? Mm-hmm. Start playing and quickly saw like this company's legit or this people we're talking about it. And, kind of did a little preemptively vetting them and making sure that they do deals. And biggest thing, though, like I mentioned already, though, is it's just referrals. If there's people that like we know a lot of high-class business owners, high-class entrepreneurs that they're using them. Like, obviously, they're not crap. Hopefully, right?
Hopefully. We used a company that, in Vegas. We did one
deal
wholesale in Vegas. Numbers seem like more. It's just do it, right? And so, because we were tight with Sean Bob, we used the company that Ryan Pineda has a great relationship with. And I gotta say, that's probably one of the worst experiences I ever had.
Really?
Right. And I'm not blaming on Ryan, right? It was just, Ryan gets great services. Ryan.
Exactly. See? Yeah, exactly.
We're just like, you've never done a deal with me. You don't know who I am, this and that. And then, being in Phoenix, we're totally spoiled. We take for granted how much easier things are here. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until we left here and went to other states. Like, service is important here.
Exactly.
Every title company knows there's another title company in
your lunch
throwing distance.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hit them with a rock from there. So they're all competing and vying for each other. So like if they don't pick up the phone, they're not being respectful. All right, thanks. See you later. And I'm gonna switch. There's other states. It's just like, if you don't like our service, too bad.
Exactly.
And that's just the way it's like,
how's that possible? Like, even in Georgia, we have a really good relationship with her after 5 years. Actually, my first deal with them. And we have a really good relationship. But if I was not to do it with them, like, people use these guys say the same thing. They said they're terrible. I'm like, they're allowed to in Georgia. What you're saying is like there's 3 or 4 big ones, but you really out of luck if you don't use them. So you got to be able to like adjust. So I would love that Phoenix ability here, and they do that.
Ian here, he's our head coach, right, in our sales
Yeah.
community. He's the one that's running 3 coaching calls a week. And he was in Atlanta for a little bit. And he was talking about how these guys would not even like give any suggestions or direction without upfront payment. And he was like, what? Like, I just have questions. They're like, yeah, pay us. Like, so I don't know if that's like a normal thing in Atlanta.
No, I mean, I haven't experienced that, but again, I have my relationship with the guy, but I wouldn't doubt that's a lot of other ones. Like I said, it's not as nice as Phoenix is with that respect.
All right. So let's talk about your business today versus 3 years ago. I know we talked a lot, right? Today, like, there was a lot of our episodes. Things have changed.
Yeah.
But like, you know, for the listener here who's getting started, you know, comparing to what your life was like when you were at college, to what your business is today, what are the biggest differences?
I would say the biggest difference is the talent. Transparent, like what I've realized in the last year, 2 years, and I graduated in 2021. Since then, we're using that as the benchmark. Since then, what I realized is that there's a big difference between B minus players and A plus people. And I've quickly seen our team by adding those people in place where I was like, what the heck's, I can need only one of them to be 2 of the other people, right? And I've literally seen that where we've let go 2 people and brought in one. He did just as much as the other 2 people, right? Or more, right? So the example, like you said, like what did I see or what's our business look like? Now I feel like we're stacked with A talent. And I like to believe everyone is on the team that has A talent. Meaning that I look at them, there's just, heck yeah. Like, you helped me, Steve, with that question. Always like, knowing what you know now, would you hire them again? And I can safely say everyone on my team right now is a heck yes, right? And so that's important versus in 2021, there's some people are like, we just need to bring people on. We need to bring people on to make ourselves a business. And back to, again, comparison, Steve, to Joy. Hey, this guy has, you know, like you said, in CG, this guy has this many acquisition managers. This guy has many lead managers. I need to go hire more people. So in 2021, you know, we let go of some people. And in 2022 is same. I would say I learned a lot from that. And I say really the last year, 2023, has allowed me to step back and say, look, let's break this down. Let's get the best people. Let's get the A talent. And let's really focus on bringing in a team. I feel we always had great culture, but really now focusing deep on the A talent and recruiting as if it's like leads in our system, marketing, which I'm sure you're obviously aware of. Doing that, teaching, you know, they're training my mind to like, look, I got to be a recruiter. I'm trying to recruit a couple people now, which I've learned from like Eric and Phil, like trying to like not take them from other people's companies, but I'm over here trying to, and no one that, you know, we know, but like, I know this guy does this. What can I offer him? Like, what special things can I get him to get him on our side and try to work with us? So like that's that mindset. I said is a big change in the last 2 years, and I think that'll help me throughout my life as a business owner, if I'm doing wholesaling or not. It's just the ability of, you know, finding talent and bringing them on.
Yeah, Phil and Eric, I think, are the absolute best.
Yeah,
anyone I know at identifying and recruiting and retaining talent.
Exactly, retaining
talent. So like it was. You know, when Ren and I, we launched our sales leadership training, and, you know, people would ask us about, you know, retaining this and that. I was like, you know, like the best are Phil and Eric.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn it, there's no one better than us to teach it because those guys won't teach you.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're always go giving, but like you said, I mean, I would say regarding how they do things, the best of the best in a lot of things that they do, right? Recruiting.
But these guys have their heads down and they're only focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's building the best real estate company on the planet.
Exactly.
So besides financial freedom, what else do you love about real estate?
I love solving big problems. I think what's good about this business is, and a lot of businesses, every business, you're solving a problem, whether you're working at a restaurant or not, you got to solve the problem of getting the client the food. But, you know, in this business, like we're solving problems that like literally like yesterday we had my first ever eviction. Luckily, Adam, the marketing director, went there and was witness in court and was fighting for us. And I'm looking at that again while you're saying to get excited. Is like that challenge right there just saved us. Like, or we're going to make $60,000 on that deal. We just solved a problem, and the problem was getting a tenant out for a seller that's going to make us $60,000, right? So, point being is like this, you know, and I think everyone watching this is doing deals. It's so fun. For me, I like to think I do enjoy it, but I like to think I'm pretty good at it. Is like when Dispo or TC are bringing me some sort of problems, and my goal is to empower them and try not to be overstepping, to keep doing a better job of that. But they bring me stuff, and I love just, wait, why don't we throw that to them? Why don't we give the tenant, if she's not letting us in, which we train on, why don't we give him a $50 gift card here? Oh, he doesn't want that. What if we take his family out to eat at their favorite, certain things like that, where we can go in and solve the problem, because that access is going to allow us to make $40K on this deal. Or let's, again, solve these problems. And I think other than just, doing making money and traveling and what this business allowed me to do is it's also just like constantly be trying to solve different problems and learn stuff.
Yeah. And I think for us being what are your Persuader?
Though I was Persuader, yeah. Now it's Test Maverick, but Persuader originally.
I don't believe Maverick. I think that's wrong. So
it's a B over A Maverick.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Maverick, right? For me, my profile now says venture, right? But like, what do we do as high A's on PI? We love solving problems.
Yeah.
Like, that's our favorite thing to do. Another thing I forgot about this. I just thought of this now because you're talking about solving problems. I had a proud Papa moment, right?
Oh yeah, here we go.
All right. So we were at CG, and Jeremy Miner's on stage.
Uh-huh.
Right, remember that?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he went around. He was asking people, and he hit him with an objection. And I know you felt like that wasn't your best moment.
Yeah.
But you did good.
Yeah,
right?
and it was funny that you bring it up, because I was thinking about that a little bit ago. And I was like, to set the scene, so Jeremy Miner, you guys might know him as a sales trainer, and he was on the stage, like you said, Steve, on the stage, and he came up, like, start the presentation, just looked at her in the eye. And I was just doing something, like, I was writing something down. I look up, he's staring at me. He's like, and he does, to my offense, he didn't understand our how we work in our business next day. He's like, you cold called me, 3 days later, and I call you back and say, I'm not interested. I was like, what the hell was he talking about? So I had a brain fart for like the first, like, anyone that watched this, a CG, that they would know, like, this, they were laughing. I was just sitting there like, what do you want me to do? But yeah, to Steve's point, I remember just saying to him, like, what did I do wrong or something? Like, his response was like, again, he was the seller that said, hey, I'm no longer interested in selling. Hey, is there something I did wrong?
Mm-hmm.
But you can go ahead.
I was saying, like, it was a proud Papa one, because, like, I'm not interested anymore. So you went straight to sad puppy.
Yeah, exactly.
Takeaway. I wasn't even sure I could help you anyway.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I was like, yeah, like, even under fire, because you were on your phone or putting out a fire or something, and he hit you with an objection that you weren't even listening for.
Exactly.
And you still were able to handle the objection.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks to Steve. Like I was saying, guys, if you haven't, the training that I've learned from you, again, I started in the beginning of 2020. So Steve sold me on it. I remember you covering that call. I was like, shit. And at that time, that was the biggest thing. I think it was, it was over $10,000 to do it, which is well worth it. Right? You see what we're talking about, the people I know because of Steve getting on this podcast now. Anyway, back to the point is, like, the sales training that I've learned through that, and the things I've learned help me every day through things, and not just through business, which has made us millions of dollars, through the training that we learned from Steve, but also, from just hanging out with family members, talking to my fiance. Now she catches on, obviously. Now she'd be laughing, like, listen to this, like, can't push away. Hey, probably no way we could go to this restaurant. Like, but at the same time, like you're bringing up, is the ability to have that now trained in my head. Like I was talking earlier, is like, you keep it forever now. Yeah. Thanks to Steve, though.
Yeah.
So thanks, Steve-o.
It was totally internalized. Like, you didn't have to spend a lot of time thinking about it. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just pulling away.
Yeah, I'm just push away, man. I don't know what's going on. Exactly.
What's your biggest struggle today?
I would say our biggest struggle today, we got struggling every single day. I would say the biggest struggle for me is constantly being a better leader. I think I've taken a lot of leadership stuff. I think that's the one room I still believe I have a lot of growth in. And maybe you never become a great leader, like, to your own respect. But I feel like there's some times where I maybe overstep boundaries. I'm friends, some of my friends that now are the the marketing director, like Adam, like, sometimes might jump over boundaries saying stuff. And I got no one to really, like, I try to tell them, like, if I'm saying something like too over the top, like, make sure you come after me. And obviously it's only so much you can do. Mm-hmm. Right. I think it's getting better now. I'm not saying I just threaten a terrible boss, but like certain things, like, mess around. 24 years old, right? Started this 19. So you can see kind of what the culture of the business is. It's from a 19 to a 24-year-old. So we have no filters and a lot of stuff. And only to bring it up in this conversation, like, maybe sometimes I take it too far. I like to think I get it right back, but back to the thing, like, just being a better leader, empowering our leaders, giving them what they need. I think what I should do, and this has actually hit me hard the other couple weeks ago, is, and I was actually talking to Clint about this, and I'm all big about education. We've talked about this on the show already. I have a lot of stuff I do, and I got Steve training a lot of our team, but I need to invest more in some of these directors and some leadership, including myself, but invest in them more in targeted mentorship, right? I pay for one-on-one a lot for people like we talked about. Do that the same for them. Get them on one-on-one with other people's COOs, whether it's their guidance and it's, whoever it is, right? And start investing more into them. Mm-hmm. And I like to think I do. Again, Steve's training. We have a lot of trainers, but just think again, being a better leader and empowering the directors, give them as many things as I can to allow them to succeed. So obviously that's a little struggle mentally that I'm dealing with. It's just becoming that better leader and empowering the team even more. I like to think you could always be a little better, but
one of the best investments I ever made was hire Larry Yatch.
Yeah.
Right. And this was a time where like, all right, Steve, we need to remove you from this. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
All right. So we hired Larry Yatch, and he was on the show some time ago. He was the top Navy SEAL on the ground in Iraq while we invaded, right? Last time. And man, like him working, it wasn't one-on-one. It was him having coaching sessions with my department leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the best investments. Now we're all talking the same language. We're all using the same words. We use the same, when we're referencing this or that, like we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And man, that increased accountability to a level that we never had.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
No, and then we actually we did that, but we didn't pay for Larry. It was a little bit significant difference in price. So we went like another route, and I don't think we didn't get what it was our fault. Taking extreme ownership again, like the book, like, it was our fault. Yeah. But that's where we're at with it. So
there were a few different pricing options, and I went with Larry for one reason only, and that was because I just know myself.
Yeah.
If you're trained by Larry and you teach me, I just can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Serious.
See, that's what I think happened.
But if Larry says it, all right, like let's go, right? Like, okay, you ran the SEAL units. Okay, yeah, let's do this.
Do this. Let's go.
Right? Like when a SEAL says it, because like I remember one time I said something, and he said to me, in all seriousness, Steve, I can never go to battle with you.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that? It's like your lack of attention to detail is going to get someone killed. Ugh.
So yeah, when you hear it from him, then
when he says it,
you're
right. That's one thing. When and we talked through it and this and that. I was like, okay, I understand the responsibilities now, right? Because again, we were paying for coaching.
Yeah.
But one of his coaches said that. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna battle with you.
Exactly, and that might be a thing for it's me too, and I think that's what ended up happening. So no, but back to your thing, I'd love to look back into it more and do some other like leadership stuff. I know Dan Hardy, right? That's who.
Darren Hardy's been incredible.
Hardy,
Darren Hardy was awesome. I learned a lot from Darren Hardy, John Maxwell, Simon Sinek. But I would say the one that was the most impactful was Larry Yatch. And I think the only reason why it was more impactful is because he gave us a unified language and he coached us as a unit.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else was like
individual.
I learned it.
Yeah.
Right. We read the books together, right? We read the 5 Dysfunctions of the Team together. Right. Like there's that, and that's great. But it's different when you have the instructor instructing your entire team, so you guys are all rowing the boats in the same direction.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah. What would you say is your superpower now?
Today, I think connecting with people, relationships. I feel like I've done a good job over the years, 5 years, connecting with people. We've kind of talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe it's paying the relationship, but overall, it's keeping it going and keeping those relationships flowing and being able to provide value. Again, going into these, not to just obviously the value is paying, but also furthermore trying to provide more to that person or individual as much as I can, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. Like even though you paid to be in the room, you're an active participant. And I could say running a program is actually another struggle, right? Is getting people to want to come into the room, but once they're in the room, they're quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, okay, so like now I'm just like, I just kind of picture myself as a college professor that's just droning.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like sounding monotone, like the teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Right? Like if there's very little participation, it's like, all right, well, like I hope you guys are getting something.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're coming in like, all right, Steve, I'm dealing with this. All right, Steve, I'm dealing with that. Hey, we did this didn't work. We did this, we had this success. Hey, like now that I've got this figured out, what's next? Like for me, as a mentor, it's way more satisfying to see someone go from point A to, like J or K or whatever, right? Versus like, okay, like you're 10% better.
Yeah, exactly.
than when you started here.
No, I think it's important, like you said, just asking questions and being like, I try to get into the rooms. Everyone says it, but I try to be in the dumbest one in the room. And it's pretty easy to do that at CG. Like you're looking around and like, oh, what the heck is going on? Like I don't even know what I'm doing compared to some of these guys. But I think like you mentioned, just asking questions, you do a good job. And we'll probably have a lot more coming in the sales team because running these hybrid calls. I think they've already talked to you about it.
Oh yeah, we've talked about them.
Yeah, so they're starting that tomorrow. So good luck to Big Marcus and Marquise. But
I love Marcus. Poor Marcus. Marcus Daniel.
yeah,
He's the guy I pick on whenever we're talking about difficult people.
that's
right?
good.
We're talking about like high D personalities.
Yeah,
How do you deal with high D personalities? Like, all right, can you imagine Marcus if I called him and asked him how his day was going today?
yeah, exactly,
How's he gonna respond?
exactly. Yeah.
Why are we asking this question? So thanks, Marcus, for putting up with that.
Big Marcus, individualist, right? That's where you originally tested.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, individualist. Which failure have you learned the most from?
I mean, obviously a lot of failures, right? Failure I learned the most from, I would say, and they're not necessarily failures, but the business partnerships. I think that's something I learned a lot from is just being constantly communicating, constantly identifying if this is a long-term fit, asking yourself if this is a long-term fit, because that kind of flows into your employees too. And just realizing and seeing like, what does the future look like? And not just, because it's very easy, right? Put your glasses on, just start driving and not think about what's going to be in front of you really, and what I mean by that is like, it's easy to get stuck in the weeds of the business and just work and grind. And I think that's what happened with Chandler and me. And, we were just like, let's keep going, let's grind. And we're not like, what's the goal in the future? What do you want to do?
Grinding?
Why are we doing this? And it's just like going back to the fundamentals of, are we going to be together? Do we want to do this in the future together? Do we want to do, this? And again, not just partnerships in your employees, right? And so if you can have that conversation, clarity, like, hey, we're on for the ride. Let's go. This is where we want to go. Again, it's my job to be a better CEO and leader and show the people and identify this.
Mm-hmm.
But it still helped me today. Like you said, it's, something you learn from. And I think that's the biggest thing really right there. The biggest lesson is just constantly be doing that. And I still, again, not perfect, but trying to constantly be, seeing that.
The iteration.
In future partnerships, I know that now. I have that on the side of my hip,
Yeah, and we had Jake McKinney. He's in the Whale Club, and we were talking about it this morning. I think he said partnership charter is an actual book. And I'm like, hey, here are all the questions you should ask each other before you agree.
That's useful.
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many, right?
Right. Like, yeah, I wish because like we've done the attorney stuff, right? Like the attorney is like, hey, we're gonna have an operating agreement.
Yeah.
What happens to this? What happens to that? And that's great, right?
Exactly.
But that's really more like, how do we divorce well?
Exactly.
This is not like, how do we make sure we're completely aligned in the future?
Exactly.
So partnership charter. Shout out to
Check
Jake
that out. I got to check that out. Yeah, Jake. I know Jake too. So
yeah, he's another rock star.
yeah, exactly. Providing a bunch of value.
Yeah. So wrapping up, what are some last thoughts that you'd like to leave all the listeners with?
I think comparisons thief the joy. I know that came up a couple of times already. Like in this business specifically, I know I mentioned too a little bit is that we help and coach a couple clients, and not a couple, a lot of people. And a big thing I see them doing is they try to compare either to us coaching them, or they try to compare it against their friend that they hear about on the Real Estate Disruptors podcast. Or masterminds, right? And they don't know like the true, like what's going on in their business. And more importantly, like what that person wants to do in the future. And it's very easy to say, oh, this guy's doing this many deals and be like, I need to build my team like that. And I've learned over the last 2 years, and that's where probably it's a good thing to leave off is like just designing my life and designing what I want. I don't want to do $1 million a month. Like you talked about, I don't want to do even probably like $750 a month. I'd rather build a team as profitable as can be, as tight niche that can be, that can run effectively without me being there. And I feel like we're doing that or on the pace to do that right now. It's where we can make money, or I can make money and I can go work on something else. And again, if I was just to copy other people, I mean, we listed some names today. It's very easy to say, we need to go way faster. We're failing because we're not hitting those people's numbers. And I think for me, like I said, it's just something you got to do if you're listening to this is don't look at my thing, right? My thing has been 5 years. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm not even close to the biggest fish in the sea, right? But don't look at me to compare yourself. Don't look at, anyone else necessarily. You can use that to fuel your fire. You can use that to take stuff. Again, not just to, don't look at other people for, to help you. Like, I'm not saying do that, but, just use some things and design it around your life. And I think that goes back to just doing, I think The Gap and the Gain. We know that book by Dan Sullivan, right? And Ben Hardy, where they talk about like, look at yourself. Don't compare your other people. Compare yourself from 3 years ago. Compare myself 5 years ago. I didn't even know what wholesaling was, or a little over 5 years ago. And now, we're doing multiple $100,000 a month in wholesaling revenue. I would never thought that was possible. So like just that right there just makes you feel a lot better as a person, gain more confidence, and again, make you feel better.
Yeah. You're not comparing to what you don't have. You compare yourself to what you've done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Someone wants to reach out to, a big boss. Gino.
Big boss.
How do they do that?
Yeah, and they reach out to me on Instagram, Gino, Gino Palumba. They spelled it out there. Damn,
I saw that.
Disruptors guys. No, I'm just kidding. Palumba, Palomba. So reach out to me. Like, I'm open to questions. Got a YouTube channel. I need to pump that back up. But I like to think me and Chandler, we both put out a lot of value for, people starting or people still doing deals. And, you got questions, hit me up. And like I said, I started by doing that. Steve helped me out a bunch. Max Maxwell, a lot of those guys. So I'm willing to help and any questions you guys got.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stevie.
Good having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Shout out to Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. We real estate disruptors.